Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday. So today is meal prep Sunday for me here. So I'm gonna make up some snacks that everybody likes to have. One of the first things I do is I always get out my meat bucket or bowl, and that's what we're gonna have later on in the week. I like to get out some different meats to have ready for that. So let me show you that first. Okay, so here is the meat bucket for this week. So this is what we will have later on in the week. So I have one whole chicken here. I have a tiniest little ham, and then I have some beef soup bones. That's our meat that we got going on for later in the week. And so like Wednesday, Thursday, I'll start cooking on this stuff. Now the whole chicken will last us a couple meals. And then the ham, that's more for sandwiches. We wanted to try our kuni ham, which, as you can see, it's very tiny little hams. Everything is miniaturized when you're dealing with small pigs. The soup bones, I'm either gonna make like a vegetable soup because we're gonna get cooler weather, or I'm just gonna make up a bunch of beef broth, beef bone broth that I need to make up anyway and get it canned and get it in the basement. So yeah, one of the two with that. Haven't decided. Might be that we do vegetable soup. I don't know. I haven't decided because I can can the vegetable soup as well and just make a huge pot of it. So I haven't decided. One of the two. That's later in the week, and that'll depend on how much time I have and what I feel like doing. So that's the first thing I do. I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and this is for later in the week. That's the first thing I always do. And then I figure out, okay, well, what kind of things do I want to make today, so that I have like 3 or 4 like main-ish dishes, you know, that people can grab for lunch or for dinner if I don't feel like cooking, because I take my shots on Monday. So Monday and Tuesday I'm usually pretty tired, and that's when you don't see me post a lot. I'll actually post this weekend, so you'll get a video from me those days, but I don't film a lot because I'm exhausted. It's just the way it goes. So my husband does the filming, so thank you guys for watching all the homesteading stuff and supporting us in that way. He films for me and takes over so that we can try and get a video out for you guys as often as we can. I'm trying to get back in the swing of it before I start posting daily again for you guys for the 6-month challenge. Also, real quick, a couple questions on the 6-month challenge. I just want to address them as I get them. One, again, was fresh produce. What do? We will just go into canned and we will go into frozen produce. Our family mainly eats a lot of grains, and so a lot of making pasta and a lot of making, especially in the fall and winter, heavy grains, a lot of bread, you know, homemade bread, a lot of pancakes, biscuits, all that kind of stuff. And then we eat a lot of meat. And that, again, that's, for us, it's an easy thing to eat a lot of because we raise it all ourselves. So we have usually an abundance of some kind of meat. And then we sprinkle in, we eat a lot of dairy, a lot of raw dairy. And again, somebody had asked me about that. How do I get raw dairy here in Ohio? I'm in a herd share. That's how I get my dairy until we get our own dairy, hopefully next year on the farm. But that is, we move into the frozen and the canned fruit after we're done with the fresh. So very easily I can add frozen berries to our yogurt, or, you know, I have a bunch of frozen broccoli and stuff like that, and I can pull that out. We will also have a lot of squash. It looks like we're gonna have a great butternut harvest squash. We got a lot of pumpkin and all that kind of stuff that stays, a lot of potatoes, a lot of sweet potatoes. So we'll have all that kind of stuff. Plus we'll be eating from our garden until, you know, it just gets way too cold in the garden. So that's how that's gonna work. Thank you. He just brought, I had about 8 dozen eggs I had to fry up real quick this morning to feed. I think he gave them all to the pigs today.
Nope.
No, you gave them to everybody?
No, that's why I brought the serving spoon. So I was able to scoop it out. So I gave most of the eggshells to the laying chickens because they need the calcium. So I gave them some scrambled egg and that, and then I divvied up what was left between pigs and turkeys and rooster chickens.
Thank
Get
you.
Orpingtons.
Perfect.
And they really didn't eat it very good.
The turkeys didn't really want the eggs?
No.
I'm sure the pigs did.
No, they were eating the tomatoes that were out there from yesterday. The pigs, on the other hand, they lived to their name.
I'm sure they did. So we have still a bunch of smaller eggs that we're unable to sell. And Ash didn't come home the last couple weeks. She takes a ton of eggs, like 10 dozen, 12 dozen, whatever eggs with her when she comes home, because the boys that she lives with, all of her ROTC buddies, they eat a ton of eggs. They are big worker outers and they like to eat a ton of eggs. But she hasn't been home in a couple weeks because she's had to go out for training and different things. So I just had all of these that I need to use up. So cooked them all up, fed them to the animals. That's what we do. Anyway, back to the challenge. So that is what happens with that. And so there'll be, tons of canned applesauce. Apples last a long time in the fridge, so they'll last for a while. You can just use frozen fruit for all kind of stuff. And again, the vegetables, what's canned, what's frozen, and salads as long as we can. And we've got a lot of cabbage gonna go in the ground. We're just waiting for it to get cool enough to get it out there. It needs out because the starts are getting huge. But yeah, so that's how we'll do. And I'm gonna share that with you guys every day. Another question was, will I show my pantry and my freezers, my fridge, and all that stuff before the challenge starts? Undecided. This day and time, I'm a little bit nervous about that. So I don't know. I'm undecided. I'll let you know what I decide come the end of October when we start the challenge. But yeah, all right, that's everything there. So now let's talk about what I've already started this morning before I started filming for you guys. All right, so already today we are doing beef once a week, every other week, because I'm really trying to stretch out the beef. But here we go. I've got a roast in here. I just put a little bit of that egg seasoning that I made. If you guys remember the marinade, I put a little bit of that in here, a little red wine, and a little bit of cowboy candy, the like liquid part of it. Threw in an onion, a bunch of garlic, and salt. And this beef roast is just going all day, slow and low. Theo loves a beef roast. Then over here, I've got out some of our ground pork. This is the stuff that's more like beef than pork. And then I've got that sausage from yesterday. So I'm gonna turn that into meatloaf because Charles loves the meatloaf. It's gonna be cooler. He'll take that to work in sandwich form, and I've still got some bread, so he'll be set up for sandwiches. And then over here, I've got beans soaking. We're gonna make some refried beans because my crew loves bean burritos. So that's what I've got so far. All right, we're gonna go on and start with this meatloaf. So I've got about 3 cloves of garlic here. Yep. I'm gonna go on and add that to all this meat. I'm gonna add some panko breadcrumbs because I already have these open. I'm gonna add a little bit of this Korean red pepper powder. That'll just give it a nice little kick. I'm gonna add some salt. Now I'm working with unseasoned pork. Again, like I always say, that needs a lot of salt. I'm gonna add 2 of my smaller eggs. A little bit of milk. I'm going to chop up one of our little onions. All right, I'm gonna add the onion. And then I like to add a little Parmesan cheese. I got a little bit of my dried oregano here. All right, and that's it. I'm just gonna mix this up and get it. Okay, so we're gonna just get in and mix this all up. I make my meatloaf different pretty much all the time. If I'd already gotten all the peppers and tomatoes, which I got to do later today from the garden, I would have added some peppers. I'll just try to mix all that in. I thought about wrapping it around some of the eggs that I made yesterday, but I just don't know if Charles would eat it. I think it'd be really good. But I just don't know that he would. I don't know that he would eat it. I thought about making it like that. Maybe I will next time. All right, now I'm just going to pop this into my baking dish. Sorry you guys can see that. My loaf pan. That's what I use to make a meatloaf. Just a basic old loaf pan. Theo requested bacon this morning, so I got his bacon in the oven. So the oven's already preheated. Alright, and then here I have a tiny bit of ketchup in here. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of mustard to the ketchup. Just kind of stir that about. It's not much of a glaze, but just a little bit. I'm out of ketchup. And I ended up not having time with all those tomatoes, so I popped them all in my freezer. I've got almost a whole freezer full of tomatoes. I just have not had time to do it yet. I've got to make this ketchup, and I want more marinara sauce. If I was making this for me, I'd throw some jalapenos on here. But Charles will not eat all of that, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, and the meatloaf is now done. Whew. Get this bacon out. I've made bacon 3 times, and that is how fatty and how much, you know, good Lord, the bacon grease you render. This is a huge thing. And out of 3 bacon makings, it is full. That's crazy. That's a lot of bacon. Somebody asked if I make my rags, my kitchen rags. I do not. Just bought them, I think, at Walmart. Alright, so here is the meatloaf. It's out. I'm gonna let it cool, and then I'll call Charles and make him a meatloaf sandwich real quick. Alright, you guys, that meatloaf is bomb. It is so good. Probably one of the best I've ever made. The crushed Korean red peppers in it give it just a subtle little kick. Oh, so good. And you wouldn't even know it's all pork, because the kuni meat, that is really the texture of beef. So it really tastes just like if I made a beefy meatloaf. And here you can see I've sliced it, because Charles will use it mostly on sandwiches. It's holding its shape beautifully. Normally ground pork is very soft, so it's harder to keep its shape and everything. But it is beautifully doing it, and it has such amazing flavor. Like I said, one of the best I've ever made. Alright, so next, my hair is looking crazy. I've been up with Theo. He's watching this little show for animals or something like that, or I don't know. It's about these little animal guys. So he wanted me to sit with him for a little bit. But now it's time to get back to cooking. So again, it is meal prepping. So I'm gonna make some potatoes. I'm just gonna steam them up, and I'll show you how I do that in the Instapot real quick. I'd love to have steamed potatoes in my fridge, because then we can use them for multiple things. We cut them up into fries, and you can fry them or air fry them or just bake them. You can just smash some of the potatoes and bake it and make like a smashed potato bake. You can just cut it up and make like a hash. It's just, there's so many things you can do with it. You can shred them up and make some hash browns, or some what do you call those little tater tots? Make tater tots. There's just so much you can do, because we're only gonna put them in the Instant Pot for about 18 minutes, 17, 18 minutes, something like that. And then they'll be cooked, but not all the way cooked. That's where we like it to be. So maybe I'll start with 15 minutes. All right, so all I'm gonna do here is, I used to have a steamer basket. I don't even know where it is, and I'm not worried about it. Put a tiny bit of water in the bottom. Now these are potatoes that we grew in our garden, so some are definitely smaller. So I'm just going to do this for 15 minutes.
Oh, that's you.
So all I do is just put this on. Oh, I gotta find my little gauge. Okay, just make sure that it is on lock, so it's not gonna vent. Pressure cook. I just hit the pressure cook button, and I'm gonna do it for 15 minutes. I had it set for beans. Now I'm going to be pressure cooking 3 different things. That's why I'm going to start with the potatoes and work my way to beans last, because what's going to make it have the most flavor stay in the pot is what I want to do, you know, last. So potatoes, I don't want them flavored at all. Oh, there's my hubby. So I'm going to just do the potatoes first. Then we're going to make a enchilada chili. And then we're also going to make our beans. So we'll do the chili, then the beans, because the beans can take on the flavor of the chili and be totally fine. But I don't really want anything else to take the flavor of the beans on. So let's get this done, and then we'll move on to the next thing. All right, while the potatoes are going, we're going to go on and whip up some blueberry muffins. This is one of Charles's favorites to have to just grab and go as a snack. I have shared this recipe many times with you guys, but it is so good, I will share it again. It says 1.5 cups of flour, 3/4 cup sugar, I need to refill my sugar. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm gonna do a quick little stir of this. And then you can do 1/3 cup of oil if you want. I like to do butter and blueberry muffins. I think it makes all the difference, and I love butter in it. I am also gonna do 1 large egg. I'm just gonna beat that here so I can add that in. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of milk. And a little bit of vanilla. Now here you can add a little lemon zest if you want, and make it like a blueberry lemon if you want. You could add a little orange and make it an orange blueberry. Stir this all up. Now we're going to add our blueberries. I'm just going to add some blueberries here, about 1 cup. And now this will thicken this up even more because these are frozen blueberries. But frozen blueberries I find don't really sink to the bottom. If you were using fresh blueberries, I would mix them in, honestly, with the flour mixture before adding the wet stuff, because that would also help keep them from all just going to the bottom. I'm gonna get a switch. I'm gonna switch and get a spoon for this. And then we're gonna make the crumb topping for the top. I actually have not made blueberry muffins now in probably a month. So my husband will be very thrilled. Okay, so now we're gonna make the crumb topping. So I've got some butter here. I'm gonna add just a little bit of vanilla, optional. I'm gonna add in some sugar. Stir this all together. You can add in brown sugar if you have brown sugar. Add a little molasses to make this brown sugar if you want. However you wanna do it, just a little bit more sugar. All right, now we're gonna start adding our flour. And then you wanna just kind of go in and do a pinching motion with your fingers. I know I've shown this a million times, but not everybody always has seen it. I'm gonna need more flour than that. I think that's gonna be good. Yep, perfect. All right, and that's it. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle that on the top here. It's one of the family's favorites. Then I'm gonna bake these until they're just a little bit brown on top. So maybe 15-20 minutes on 350 degrees is what I put it on. All right, I'm gonna pop that in the oven. Okay, so when I'm meal prepping, I thought I'd just explain real quick my thoughts on it. I am doing what is good for my family, of course, and what's gonna get us through a few days, because I'm not gonna feel great and I'm gonna be very tired. So what I like to do is I like to do 3 kind of meals. So we got the meatloaf, we've got a roast going, and we're gonna make a enchilada chili because it's gonna be cooler later in the week. Then again, I like to have some stuffed meat already thawing for the next 3 days so that it's ready to go on, say, Tuesday or Wednesday. I can start making that, and that'll carry me through to the weekend. The weekends, I feel great. I'm ready to go. That's when I do all this cooking, because I'm ready to go and I feel great. So I like to do 3 kind of dinners. I like to do 2 or 3 kind of snack options, because when, again, you're cooking everything from scratch, your family doesn't have all that options, you know, that I guess normal people would have. So I like to make things like muffins or something like that. We're gonna make a different snack, and yesterday I made some cookies, animal crackers for Charles. All the kids are eating them, but so I like to have some kind of snacky stuff. And then I want to have typically like 3 kind of starch options. But I think I'm only gonna do 2 today. We're gonna make up some rice. I don't really need to show you how to make rice. I'm just gonna make a big pot of rice. I'm making the potatoes, so those will be in there. So pretty much everybody can have potatoes or rice. And I got so much beans going on, I don't feel like I really need that 3rd option. Plus I made bread yesterday. So there's your 3rd option. I do have bread that we made yesterday, or a couple days ago. So I still have that option as well. Then I also like to make some kind of sweet treat. So we're gonna make the ice cream today that we talked about yesterday. I'm gonna make that. And then some kind of sauces, like to go with your vegetables or with the potatoes, or condiments that maybe are needed. So we're gonna make a sauce that we like to put on our vegetables today. And we're going to make, it's like a ranch sauce, and it again goes good. So they like to take this like cheesy vegetable sauce that doesn't have any cheese. This is something we've been making for many years now. We learned how to make it when we were trying to be plant-based like forever ago. And both of these we make a lot, and I just haven't made them in a while. So I need to make them. So we're going to make 2 kind of sauces to go in the fridge. And then, yeah, I think that's it, because I also made the pickled eggs yesterday. So I have those in there. We have the pickled onions from a couple days ago. As they need tortillas, I'll just have the girls make tortillas. Everybody in the house knows how, except for Charles, to make tortillas. So I'm not going to make that today because I like them fresh, and so do they. And they don't take very long at all to make. So that's what I'm at, where I'm at. I'm also making, I do not need yogurt, so I will make that with you Wednesday or Thursday when I do need yogurt. I'm trying to get through the yogurt we already have. But we will be making yogurt this week. I will definitely need it. I'm just trying to get through some of what we already have, so I make sure nothing goes bad or goes to waste. And I'm also making sweet tea, which I've shown you guys a bunch. So I got my tea bags and stuff soaking now. I do a Southern style sweet tea, and I'm gonna make some lemonade. But I've shown you guys how to make sweet tea and lemonade so many times. I'll just skip that for showing you today, but that is stuff I am making as well and getting that in my fridge. Then my family should be happy and ready to go. And I can just take the next couple days as I need them and just focus on homeschool and that kind of stuff, and not so much time in the kitchen when I'm not feeling great. So, all right, let's get back to this cooking. We got the muffins going. We got the potatoes. Only have 3 minutes left. So as soon as that's over, we're gonna go on and put together the chili, the enchilada chili. If you guys have not made this before, it's actually meatless, and it is wonderful. My family goes nuts over it. It is so good. I am gonna use some canned stuff from the store because I still, in my pantry, have quite a few canned items from the store that we've been trying for years to get through. We just don't. We always go for the fresh, or we go for the home canned before that. But this calls for some store canned stuff, which is another reason I chose this. So I will share that with you next. All right, so now this just beeped. I'm gonna do a quick release because I don't want them to cook too long. Okay, so now this is done. One of the things that I like to do with potatoes is I'm gonna just take them straight out and put them in a bowl. Now you don't want to put these in a Ziploc bag or anything like that, or they get kind of slimy when you're storing steamed potatoes. So just put them in a bowl. I'm gonna let this cool off, and then I put the bowl just like this without any kind of lid on it or anything into the fridge. And so just like this, I'm gonna set this on the counter and let this cool, and then no lid or anything goes on this. It just goes in the fridge just like this, and that's how you keep it. That'll keep them tasting good and not getting any kind of slimy kind of texture. All right guys, here are the blueberry muffins. I just had to get those out real quick while I was getting everything ready for this chili. Okay, if you want to saute stuff before you put it in, you can definitely do that. I don't mess with all that. There's no need. So I'm going to start with 1 onion, small onion, chopped up. A normal small onion, not the tiny ones from my garden. You want about 4 cloves of garlic, but I just have one really small head of garlic, so I'm just going to use that. All right, then you're gonna add a green pepper. I had to run to my garden to get one. And you're gonna add 2 tomatoes. Look at how beautiful that tomato is. So just dice them up. If you do not have fresh tomatoes like I do, just use some canned tomatoes. You can just use a can of like a diced tomatoes or stewed tomatoes. That'd be fine. And if you don't have a green pepper or a red pepper, some kind of pepper to put in, you don't have to. This one has a little bit of a spot right there. Then you would add a can of corn. Okay, so I'm gonna add about half of my jar of corn here. But you would just do 1 can. Then I'm gonna add a half a cup of nutritional yeast, or nooch as other places call it. This is just, it's not like yeast that raises your bread. It's a different kind of yeast. And it has a really cheesy flavor. It's actually really, really good. It's very high in B vitamins and good for you. This is something I learned when we were going plant-based, how wonderful this is, and I use it a lot, especially in soups and stews. And you'll see in the sauce that we're gonna make, I use it as well in that. Next, we're gonna go into some of the cans. A big can of enchilada sauce, a can of black beans, a can of pinto beans. I'm gonna rinse these. A can of diced green chilies, a little bouillon, which I rarely use anymore, and red lentils. And we add a little water as well. Okay, so big can of green chilies, a can of enchilada sauce. Of course, we gotta add spices as well. All right, the 2 cans of beans. Okay, and then I want 1 cup of red lentils. 2.5 cups of water. Honey, that is, I can't wait to come see it in just a minute. I'm gonna add some of this bouillon. It's about a tablespoon. Just kind of start to give this a little bit of a stir. All right, about a half a teaspoon of cumin, about a half a teaspoon of chili powder, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, and about a teaspoon of paprika, probably more like a tablespoon. We're gonna just stir this up. This is great. Add a little cheese on it, eat it over rice. However you want to do it, it's really, really good. All right, then we are going to put this on. My ring is on. Right, is the ring good? There it goes. All right, then we're gonna pressure cook for 20 minutes and we're gonna let this slow release. Make sure you're not on venting. If you wanna put this in a slow cooker, you could do that as well. Or you could even cook it on the stove top, that'd be fine too. However you wanna do it. But Instapot is just super easy and fast. So that's why I chose that way. Okay, for some reason my Instapot is not liking my chili. And it keeps giving me the burn setting. So I'm just going to move it over to the crock pot. I've got a small crock pot here. I'll fill it best I can. And then I'm going to turn this on low and we'll let that go until tonight. Okay, so the next thing we're going to start on is ice cream because again, just like I needed my Instapot for multiple recipes, I need my blender for multiple recipes. Don't want the ice cream to have any flavor other than ice cream. So I'm going to start with ice cream. I've got a little bit of my milk here. up where you guys can see. I'm gonna get the cream off the top of some of my milk, or you could just use heavy cream and regular milk if you're making this with store-bought. Just use like some heavy whipping cream. Then I'm going to add 3 egg yolks, a little bit of salt, a little bit of vanilla, and a cup of sugar, blend it up. Give it a little taste. All right, then we're gonna put it in our ice cream maker, and in about 15 minutes, we're gonna add the cookie dough, little balls that we made yesterday. Do that in about 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes. Now I'm going to add all these little cookie dough balls in here, and I'll let this go for about another 10 minutes. Okay, now our ice cream is done, so I've got this container here. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm running out of space. I got so much going on in the kitchen. So all I'm going to do here is move all the ice cream to this container, and then it'll just go right into the fridge. I'm sorry, the freezer. I'll put it in the fridge. It's ice cream. So you can see this makes a good little bit of ice cream. We use a Cuisinart ice cream maker, and so far it has done really good. We use it all the time. Okay, then I just put this lid on it, and this goes straight to my freezer, and it's ready, and we'll eat on that this week. Okay, I'm getting creative here on how to film and show you guys as I've got everything going. I'm going to drain my beans. I'm going to add all my beans in here. We're going to go on and make our refried beans. I'm going to add enough water to cover them. It's about like that. I'm going to add a spoon of this Better Than bouillon. You could add some kind of like ham hock or something like that to this if you wanted. I'm just keeping it on the lower fat, lower calorie kind of side. That's just how we like it too. I'm going to add cumin, chili powder, a little liquid smoke, a little onion powder, some garlic powder. What else is really good in this, believe it or not, is cinnamon. So I'm gonna add a little bit of cinnamon too. Sometimes I add it, sometimes I don't, but it's gonna kind of feel like fall. So let's add a little bit of that cinnamon in there. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to put this on pressure cook for an hour and probably 15 minutes. And then I'll either do a quick release or natural release, just depends on what I got going on. Either way is fine. So there we go. Alright, the next thing we're gonna make is this like ranch sauce. So to do that, we're gonna start off with a half a cup of raw cashews. I do just always have these. So that's about a half a cup right there. I'm gonna add a cup of milk. You can use plant milks if you want to in this. It's totally fine. 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. A half teaspoon of garlic powder. A 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. Now we're gonna mix this up and then we're gonna stir in our spices. Actually, I'm gonna go on and add some dill right now. Just a little bit of dill. And blend this up really good. I'm gonna add some pepper, fresh ground pepper here. And about a tablespoon of parsley. Then I'm gonna just kind of see, I wanna make sure. I think I might need to add a few more cashews. This is looking pretty thin to me. It does thicken up some when it's in the fridge. Then I'm just gonna pour this in, and this, like I said, it'll thicken up some, but then this becomes a great ranch to just pour on your vegetables. The last ranch I made, the family wasn't that crazy about it. This was our favorite. I just was trying something new. This one is so good. Alright, so there you have it. There is our favorite ranch sauce. Alright, then I thought I'd show you. I've got the roast. I've got rice. This stuff's ready to be put away. I know I'm in plastic containers. Flies are coming in. I can't afford right now to switch everything to glass. So until that day, I will continue to use my plastic. But here is the beef roast and the rice. I'm going to get that in the fridge. Okay, our beans are done now. Sorry, trying to get it ready. You guys can see, ignore. I got dishes galore. I got everything galore. That's how it goes. Still got our soup cooking up. And now we're going to do the beans. These are my mother's favorite beans. So I will be putting some of these aside for her as well. There we go. So now I'm gonna get a tiny bit of this liquid out. But not too much. Now, I always say this, if you watch me make our beans before, that's probably enough. Is they're gonna look very runny. Right now when I do them and when I put them into their dish. They thicken up as they sit, and we like them to be spreadable, not just a big clump of beans. We want them to be spreadable. So I'm just going to go with my American blender. It's going to look more like bean soup. That's alright. I'll show you later tonight the consistency of the beans. They do not stay like bean soup. So just give it a little taste. Ooh. It is so good, but it definitely needs salt. And get some of these spices down on the sides. These are a great lower fat, perfect recipe. They taste so good. I typically keep my beans in a mason jar. I do with the soup as well. Okay, and you guys can see, I'm telling you, it pours like soup. But it will thicken up to be a beautiful spreadable for bean burritos or to spoon out on nachos. It thickens up so beautifully. Alright, now we're moving on to the vegetable cheesy sauce that we like to make that really doesn't have any cheese in it. I've got 3 cups of peeled and chopped potatoes and a half a cup of peeled and chopped carrot in here. Now I'm going to let this boil and cook, and then we're going to work with it after that. So let that cook until it's nice and tender. Alright, now we're back over to our blender. The potatoes and carrots are done cooking. We do not want to dump the water because we're going to use that water still. But for right now, we're just going to scoop out all the potatoes and the carrots. Then we're going to add about a half a cup of raw cashews, 5 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and I have 1 teaspoon of onion powder. Okay, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Two teaspoons of salt. About 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then I like to add some of the brine from a jalapeno, pickled jalapenos. Then we're going to fill about to the top of the stuff that you got in there with your boiled water that you made the potatoes. Then we just blend this up. And then that's it. This is just going to go in. It's probably going to make about 2 of these, or at least a little bit more than 1. And this is wonderful on potatoes, on vegetables, like some steamed broccoli. Charles likes this to make even like a mac and cheese. I like it mixed with some rice and some jalapenos and some chicken. Some broccoli. That's really good. Alright, there it is. Alright, you guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I'm exhausted. It's 7 o'clock. So I will see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye, everybody.